Hello, everybody. It's Dan McTeague, President Canadians for Affordable Energy. And I'm here to talk to you about not just a release that you'll see at CanadiansForAffordableEnergy.ca or AffordableEnergy.ca. It's really about the EV delusions that we now see are in full swing, not just at the federal level with a Liberal government, NDP government that wants to promote these things, but even our Conservative Premier here in Ontario, Doug Ford, is completely backing these disastrous policies which will have a significant price tag. Look, I think we all want to make sure we do right by the environment, but virtue signaling the idea that we can spend 40-50 billion dollars to incentivize automotive companies to build something whose technology may very well be rendered obsolete by new technologies, not just including hydrogen, not just including solid state batteries. I speak, of course, from a little bit of experience. The company I worked for, Toyota Canada, is now looking at introducing such models, which will have greater range, greater efficiency. Of course, price will have to be negotiated, but the world is going to see a diversity of powertrains and engines and means in which you drive your vehicles. So putting all our eggs in one battery, lithium-ion battery plant is not going to serve Canadians well, especially when you consider the amount of debt that has to be incurred by the taxpayer in order to be able to incentivize companies like Stellantis, companies like Volkswagen, and now apparently Honda. And these are not creating jobs. As we've seen, you're basically shutting down jobs in the internal combustion engine side and replacing them with fewer jobs, many of them, by the way, not even Canadian jobs, but we have to import workers from places like South Korea before we get to that, as is the case in the Windsor plant. But I digress. The reality is that we want to simply sign on in a very rushed fashion without really looking at the economics and the outlook where we are with respect to these kind of battery-operated vehicles. China is set to flood the market. They've got a 10 to 15 year advantage. And what that means in terms of our ability to make ends meet is that we have, on the one hand, a government promoting this as if it is the holy grail, the only thing that we can do, while at the same time refusing to grow our economy and, of course, destroying the very industries that can pay for it. Here, of course, I'm referring not just to oil and gas sector, which we know this government has a real despisal for, if you will. We also know that it's having implications, and the province of Ontario as well, on not just a carbon tax that some say we should get rid of, but they have no trepidation with imposing an output-based pricing system, basically a carbon tax, if you will, on businesses that makes us extraordinarily uncompetitive with other jurisdictions, including our competitors right across the border in the United States. What this really suggests is that in our desire to be all things cool and trendy, what we've actually done is backed a technology which won't last more than the next decade or so. And with it, we're going to be left with questions not just about how much money we've wasted, but how are we going to electrify? How are we going to find $2 trillion to electrify the national grid and make it cleaner than it already is? I come from a province of Ontario, member of parliament in a riding that the first nuclear reactors on a commercial basis in North America. We have to look before we leap. And unfortunately, our politicians, and I'm not just singling out Liberals, it's easy to do that, and NDP, but even Conservatives here at the provincial level have bought into the nonsense that somehow this is the magic bullet. This is the thing that will get us from, a cleaner economy. Nothing could be further from the truth. And when you start to parse how EVs are built, what kind of minerals are required. Mining is probably the dirtiest form of intrusion on the planet. You talk about not being sustainable more than anything else you can dream of, including oil and gas, which tends to be very clean. So we have our priorities backwards. And we've had our priorities backwards because we have a federal government, and to some extent even a provincial government and others across, that are willing to give money to organizations to push us in this direction. What does it really mean? Well, while 10 to 20% of us are doing fairly well, 80% can't manage to make ends meet. Look at the numbers are heading to food banks. Look at the number of people who can't make their mortgage payments. Look at the number of people who can't afford rent, much less food. Look, I'm not sure how this is going to turn out, but I can say with absolute certainty that if we're using electric vehicles and billions of dollars in borrowed money to back and to give, blue chip companies, Fortune 500, call them what you want, money, so they somehow come over here and build things that no one wants. I think that is a recipe for economic national disaster. We will continue to fight this here at Canadians for Affordable Energy. And like so many policies that we've pursued over the past few years, we are slightly ahead of our own time, and people will come to see how things are playing out. In the meantime, we need your support. Do come and donate. Join us. Sign up here, Facebook and online. And if you have any questions, president@affordableenergy.ca. Always love your commentary. Looking forward to hearing more from you. This battle has just begun. Let's end it with putting Canadians and Canadians' energy affordability first.